Montana is voting on a bill to ban gender-affirming healthcare for youth. And also, of course, voting on a bill to ban drag shows. Because as we all know, all it takes is one drag show for your kid to go to before they suddenly turn trans, before they suddenly decide, you know what, I want to go to a doctor and have a doctor chop off both my dick and my balls and put two big old titties on me. And, I went to a drag queen show and I decided, like, yeah, I'm just going to, for the rest of my life, completely change my gender. Because all it takes is once, right, folks? We all know that's how it actually works. My wife brought this up the other night. It's like, okay, well, couldn't they just, like, if they go to a drag show and they turn, like, into trans people, they turn gay or whatever, couldn't they just, like, listen to a Cardi B song and then, like, turn straight again? Like, because that's totally how it works. If your sexuality is determined by outside factors like that, right? How does that hand actually looks pretty cool, don't you think? I thought that actually doesn't look half bad. All veiny and shit. If that's all it takes for you to lose your sexuality like that, I mean, couldn't we just fly over the city? Like, couldn't we just get, like, say, West Hollywood and, like, fly over it in a plane and just blast wet ass pussy really loud over West Hollywood and then just turn everybody straight there? Like, couldn't we do that? I mean, if that's all it is, if all it takes is for you to see a show or listen to a song or something in order to completely forcibly change your sexual orientation like that, I say we weaponize it, right? I don't know. At least that's what the conservatives seem to think. Anyway, so this is some pretty. This is in response to a bill that is just passed. They passed it in the House, in the Montana House and the Montana Senate. It will go before Governor Greg Giaforte. Right, Giaforte, excuse me. If you guys remember who Giaforte is, he is the guy who body slammed somebody the day before he was elected and actually won the election. Because apparently it didn't get out fast enough that he assaulted a reporter. That's actually true shit. There's a recording of it, audio recording, where this reporter's asking him questions. Giaforte just fucking assaults the guy, basically throws him to the floor, injures him and shit, breaks his glasses. Goes on to win the governorship the next day, and since he's now the fucking governor, is not held accountable to it at all. Like, I think he got fined $1,000 or something. Giafonte's a fucking billionaire. I don't know why a goddamn billionaire would want to be the governor of a state anyway. It's like, isn't that a downgrade from, I don't know. Whatever. So, yeah, that's Giafonte there. Apparently he is all set to sign it. Also, apparently Giafonte has a non-binary son, excuse me. His son is non-binary and is begging him not to sign it. So who knows? Maybe he actually won't, because we all know that conservatives really don't look out for the best interest of their constituents. They sort of, but since the fact that he actually has a son who is non-binary, maybe he might actually listen to him, because conservatives only really seem to do things that affect them personally. And since, well, maybe now that this affects him personally, maybe he won't actually, like, remove the rights of millions of people in his state now based on that, based on his son now. I mean, it would be bullshit, but it's a win. So hopefully that won't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Apparently, as of the time of this recording, he hasn't actually signed it yet. This bill, of course, bans puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for minors. So if you're a minor, no hormones, no puberty blockers. It also would allow transgender people. There's an amendment that has been added to it. It would allow them to sue the doctor that helped them transition. It would give them a 25-year window in which they could sue the doctor that helped them transition. if they suddenly regret their decision. So if you're a doctor and you prescribe puberty blockers and hormones for a 16-year-old kid, for example, 25 years later, if that kid decides, you know what, I'm not trans anymore, they can then decide to sue that doctor and get money, which is complete and total bullshit. 25 years? I mean, first off, I don't think you should be allowed to sue your doctor for that at all, for providing you with trans affirmative care. Why would you shouldn't be allowed to sue a doctor for that, right? I mean, first off, trans, it's an elective procedure. Trans care is an elective procedure. And when I say elective, I mean that elective in the way that if you don't get it, you don't die, right? It's not like cancer or emphysema or, something like that, or kidney treatment or something that if you ignore it, you go into shock and like septic shock and die, right? No, that's like a necessary procedure for your life. Like if you don't get trans affirming care, you don't die. I mean, you may have other bad effects. You may get depressed and like suicidal and stuff. But it's not like if you don't get the HRT, you'll like die the next morning, right? So that's what I mean when I say it's an elective procedure. So I don't think you should be able to sue a doctor for giving it to you, right? Because you basically wanted it. It's sort of like suing a doctor like if you get a nose job, right? It's sort of like that. And then suing your doctor because you regret getting the nose job? No. You can sue your doctor if they fuck it up, if they give you inadequate care somehow, right? Like say they prescribe the wrong medication to you. It's not the hormones you need, something like that. And they give you the wrong medication and it ends up fucking you up. Then you could sue your doctor for malpractice, right? But just suing them because you regret a decision you made about your sexuality, that's a load of shit, right? And I don't really see that being a thing, but what does it do? What is allowing for this effectively do? It effectively creates a negative incentive for doctors. Now, is a doctor going to be like, well, hey, if I treat this person 10 years from now, 25 years from now, they can come back and sue me for a shitload of money just because the law says so. Like, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. That's ridiculous and stupid, right? And it's being put in there because it's going to scare doctors. That's why it's there, right? It's there so that doctors will feel afraid, and they'll decide, they'll be less likely to give trans affirming care to minors now. That's what it is, right? Or to anybody, because that provision is not just for minors. That provision is for anyone. So that's for adults too. So if you're 18, 19, 20 and you decide to transition, then this basically means when you turn 40, 42, 43, 44, you can sue the doctor that prescribed the medication to you, that actually helped you transition. Complete fucking horseshit, right? Doctors who defy the ban can get a year suspension of their medical license. So this will put you out of business if you decide to actually help a trans person, and get them the medicine they need in order to live the way they want to live. You can lose your medical license. That's what this is all about, right? Comes into effect on October 1st. So why am I talking about this? Because it also has to do with free speech as well. There is a Democratic lawmaker in Montana named Zooey Zephyr who has been outspoken about this. And the Montana House has decided to ban her from participating on the House floor. Right. So what's going on with this? Well, Zooey Zephyr is a trans woman and has an awesome name. If you don't mind some commentary there, Zooey Zephyr is an awesome freaking name. Right. It sounds like a superhero almost, doesn't it, Zooey Zephyr? Pretty cool name. Anyway, and she basically got up and was speaking up against this bill before it passed. And she used the phrase, "You will have blood on your hands if you vote for this bill," right? And that is what got the Republicans in the Montana Senate, the Montana House, that's what got them butthurt enough to try and they didn't suspend her, they didn't kick her out. She was not like expelled like what happened in Tennessee. Wasn't expelled. She was banned from participating. So she's still a House rep, a Montana House rep. She can still vote. She has to vote remotely. So she's no longer allowed to get up and talk. She's no longer allowed to be in the room with all of the other lawmakers. And apparently she will be kicked until she apologizes, right? Which Zooey Zephyr said, "Fuck you, I'm not apologizing," so now she doesn't get to participate, right? The reason given as to why they decided to kick her out was to maintain decorum, right? Which that was the exact same reason why in Tennessee the two Justins got kicked out. You know, what were their names exactly? Justin, I think do I have their names written down? Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, the two young black Democrats who were expelled from the Tennessee House a few weeks ago. That's the exact same reason, in order to keep decorum, right? Which is, of course, a bullshit reason. Keep decorum. Basically, what it means is that we can kick you out because we can, because we feel like it, because there's way more of us than there are of you, and what are you going to do about it? So that's why they fucking kicked her out. According to the speaker, his name is Matt Rieger, speaker of the Montana House. "It's up to me to maintain decorum here on the House floor to protect the dignity and integrity. And any representative that I don't feel can do that will not be recognized." So basically just took it upon himself, like, yeah, I don't like your tone. I don't like your tone, little missy. And so he's deciding to kick her out. This is what happens when you try to actually engage in democracy when Republicans are in charge. You notice how this always seems to happen in Republican-controlled Senates, right? Republican-controlled states and Republican-controlled Senates around the country. We're not seeing the Democratic House in California kick out any Republicans, are we? That's not happening, right? We're not seeing the democratically controlled House in New York silence any Republicans, prevent them from speaking on the House floor. That doesn't seem to be a thing that's happening. Something that was of interest. Here's a little thing I saw on Reddit. Let me move this over into the thing. Let me turn this on. So this is actually Zooey Zephyr. So what is she doing? She is trying to, since she got not expelled, but banned from participating, what she instead is trying to do now is to wait in the hallway. Because remember, she's still actually a House rep. So she's just going to wait in the hallway outside of the House floor. And the Republicans are still fucking with her, not letting her even wait in the hallway. So here she is. This is Zooey Zephyr right here, right?
My hope was to sit here and work in the common space.
No, this is public space.
Can I not work in the public space?
No, I need you. Minority leader, we already talked to minority leader, so it was okay if you're in the office.
Okay, I would like to just clarify, because my understanding is I'm allowed here.
Do you see that? Now I just want to kind of show you. Do you see the disrespect that they're throwing at this woman here, right? So she's in the hallway. I don't know who this guy is, but he's apparently another lawmaker or maybe an aide for the House Speaker. And you notice how he just sort of doesn't talk to her, doesn't like listen to her explanation, just gets up and leaves, comes out and says, "No, you're not allowed to be here."
Earlier, we already talked to him an hour later, so it was okay if you're in the office.
Okay, I would like to just clarify
And then-
because my
See-
understanding is I'm allowed here.
He just walks away. So you see how see how they're treating her? It's like, okay, get out and don't even be here. That it's like it's such bullshit. You know, if you thought that discrimination was a thing that was over with, it's like, no. How much more in your face do you have to be? Right? Like, I can guarantee you, if she was a Republican, if she was a white, a cis white male Republican lawmaker who said the exact same shit about abortion, oh, you're going to have blood on your hands. If you said the exact same thing about abortion, if you said the exact same thing about illegal immigration, if he said the exact same thing about any Republican talking point, they wouldn't have been expelled like that. It's bigotry in its most blatant, raw form. And just to show you guys, man, it's out there, it's happening now, right? This is what it looks like. This same kind of thing used to happen in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Whenever say a black lawmaker would manage to get himself voted into, like, say, a city council or a state house or something like that, which would occasionally happen during the pre-civil rights era. Occasionally, a black person would get elected to a state house or something, and this exact same thing would happen. They'd say, "Oh, well, it's segregated. You're not allowed to sit in here. Oh, you're not allowed to debate with the rest of us, whatever." Even when somebody would try to gain political power during that time, this same fucking thing would happen. This is how they'd be treated. They'd be treated as second-class citizens. And remember, people in Montana voted for Zooey Zephyr. She has every right to be there. Every right. The law says she's supposed to be there, right? They're not allowed to fire her. They're not allowed to, she was elected to that position. Nobody can tell her she doesn't have a boss. Speaker of the House is not the fucking boss. Speaker of the House just controls the rules and shit for the actual chamber. It's not their fucking boss. They don't get to tell her what to do. But you see how she's being treated there? Oh, she'll still get to vote remotely. Yeah, get to the back of the bus. That's what basically is going on here. It's bullshit, folks. It's bullshit, and it's a good example of even when someone who's part of an oppressed class somehow manages to get political power, how the establishment can take that away. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.